If you're sick of this, you may want to stick around. Back in the 80s, when you were ordering your new C4 Corvette, you had two different radio options. You had a bass option and you had the upgraded Bose system. The bass option had 4x6s in the dash, 6x9s in the rear, and a basic cassette player. Either option would have been just fine when you're out cruising around with your Targa roof off, blaring your favorite Whitesnake or Hall & Oates cassette. But if you were one of the cool kids, you would have definitely opted for the Bose system to match that little alligator on your pastel polo and your members only jacket. Fast forward to 2025, and dealing with 40-year-old Bose technology when you're trying to upgrade a radio is a royal pain in the ass. This is the factory Delco BOSE cassette player that I took out of the dash of my 1987 Corvette. You can see somebody got mad at it and broke the display, and rightfully so, because the FM is terrible on this radio, the tape quality sucks, and it even ate Big Brother Tony's Ozzy Osbourne cassette tape. Back in 1990-something or other, when I was installing full-time, I knew I was in for a bad day when I saw a mid-80s Corvette on my appointment book. And here's why I want to smack a GM engineer in the face. My rear speakers, which are right there, and then if we come over and take a look at the front speakers, which are right here. All four of these speakers are about a 3 7/8 speaker. They have their own enclosure, and each one of these has their own amplifier. The front doors are a little bit harder to get to, so I moved some of this carpet out of the way to be able to kind of explain to you what I'm looking at. If you look right up here, you've got power, ground, and signal coming into this amplifier, and then the enclosure is behind this plate, and you can see when they did bass radios and they did Bose radios, they use the same plate. So really, if you wanted to rip out these Bose amplifiers that are terrible and replace them with a set of 6x9s, you could do it pretty easily. Front speakers in an 87 Corvette are almost the same. They got the same 3 7/8 speaker there. Whole enclosure, plate, amplifier, it's all one basic unit. So if you're going to upgrade and change the speakers out, you're going to have to build something or modify the heck out of that enclosure. Now I've got a light propped up, and I want to show you some of the plugs that are back here behind the radio. And let's start with this. This is my antenna lead. And honestly, guys, this is an old car, so you don't really need to do anything. Just plug it into your new radio. Next, we have this guy here, which is a 2-pin plug. You've got a constant lead, and you got an illumination lead. You've got this 4-pin plug, which will do dimmer, switched power, ground, and power antenna. And then this pink wire goes to a relay, which in turn goes to all 4 of your Bose amplifiers to turn them on. These 2 plugs are for your signal, for your speakers. You got your front and you got your rear. The unique thing about this is you have your positive and positive on this side. If you flip it over, your negatives are common between your left and your right. So you got your negative going to 1 pin there, and then the other side you got a shield. The rear, you got the same thing. If you're replacing your radio and all your speakers, you could essentially cut these plugs off, use the wires that are here going into the doors and into the back, and plug in your speakers and wire everything up, and it'll work out perfectly. Now, if you're one of these guys that boasts about your car being the third one built this color on a Tuesday in the rain by a guy named Chuck, I don't know what to tell you. I would start running new speaker wires so you don't cut anything. Getting a radio to fit in the dash of this car and power up is not the issue. Honestly, you got a ton of depth back there. I cut off this little tab that held in the back of the factory radio. So this Alpine CD 9886 is what I want to put in place of this old Delco tape player. It's an older CD player from 2007 that I've had laying around. It's a great radio, but it just unfortunately does not have any Bluetooth or auxiliary input. I used to have a really nice JVC that had Bluetooth and auxiliary input, but I ended up giving it away. And honestly, who asks for things back after they've given them away? Anyway, mounting your radio in the Corvette is very simple. I got this GM multi-kit, and honestly, you could use these kits on any GM vehicle from around this time frame. I went ahead and moved the factory brackets off the factory deck with this 10mm bolt and mounted them to the side of the multi-kit. Make sure you look at the left side, make sure you look at the right side because they are marked. Now your sleeve on most aftermarket radio, you got your mounting sleeve and you just bend the tabs and then you can go top and the bottom and you're good to go. Powering up this radio is also pretty easy and straightforward. If you look at my wiring here, I've got my constant, my illumination. I also have ground and my ignition, power antenna, and then I have this amp turn-on lead ran to a relay, which is going to in turn turn on all 4 of those Bose amplifiers at the same time. In my opinion, the best way to do an audio upgrade in an old mid-80s Corvette with the Bose system is to rerun all your speaker leads, replace all your speakers, and utilize the amplifier in your aftermarket radio or run a new 4-channel in its place. Honestly, I have been messing with this for a lot longer than I care to admit. You can tell by my aftermarket harness here how I had to extend out some of the wiring, and I even had to do it on my Alpine harness, because every time I thought I had the wiring figured out, trust me, I didn't. Son of a... Getting your audio signal from your Alpine radio to talk to your Bose amplifiers could be done a couple different ways. If we were doing an aftermarket radio to an aftermarket amplifier, you could utilize low-level inputs, essentially RCAs from the radio to the amplifier to get your signal. And that's been done like that for, God, the beginning of time. Now, if you had a factory radio and you were trying to utilize an aftermarket amplifier, you would essentially try and use one of these guys, which is a line level converter, and it takes speaker level inputs and creates an RCA input, so you can go RCA to RCA, and you would get your speaker from your factory deck. So after looking at the diagram on this Corvette, we've got a couple different ways that we could attempt to get signal from the aftermarket radio to these Bose amplifiers. I found a wiring diagram on the interweb to help us with the signal part of this install. If we look at this diagram that I have on the screen here, you got your front side and you got your rear side. Your fronts, positive, positive. Your negatives are combined, and then you have your shield. And if you remember when I showed you the plugs in the car, it kind of mimics that. Your rear's the same way. You got your positive and positive, you got your rears combined, and then you have your shield here as well. This is your pink wire, and if we go to the other picture, you can see there's your pink wire going to your relay, and then you got your front amplifier, your other front amplifier, your rear amplifiers, and you got ground. Realistically, I got 2 ways to be able to do signal on this Corvette. After studying the wiring diagram, I looked at it and I honestly thought high-level inputs would be the best way to do it. Now, the shield is kind of throwing me off, so I wanted to try low-level inputs. I went ahead and made these guys, which are a set of RCAs that I cut up. And on any signal, you have a positive and you have a negative. Just like with high-level inputs, you got a positive and you got a negative. So I cut the RCAs, soldered in a couple pieces of wire, so I could essentially run this way, wire this stuff up, and then plug my RCAs right into the back of my factory or my Alpine stereo. So we are going to go to the car and figure out the best way to go ahead and do this. And I'm going to take you guys along with me so you can see. One thing I did do is I've got my shield here, which is my shield for both amplifiers. And I've got that for the front and the rear. And if I look at the pins that I've got in the car, it's essentially my right rear negative and my front right negative and my rear right negative. So I took those already and I grounded them because it's going to the case. So I want those grounded regardless of what way I'm going to be able to do this. If we let's take the front as an example. So we're going to combine our negatives, because that's the way we've got it right here on our wiring diagram. And so we're going to go to here and do this. We're going to tie all the negatives together, right? Is that what we're doing? I don't know. Let's give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? Okay. I know this looks like a mess. It really does. But this is for experimental purposes only. So you can see I got my 2 negatives tied into my 1 negative. And then I've got my positives that are each individual positive. So let's go plug all this into the car and try not to short anything out. And then we're going to go ahead and see how that works. So my high-level inputs are hooked up, and you can tell. Actually, it doesn't sound too terribly bad. And I don't have any royalty-free music, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for playing FM radio. The problem is that here, if you go watch the volume, that's 1, 2, and once you get to 5, it's pretty dang loud. I'm going to pause the video so I can play a CD and see if that's any better. So I played the CD. The sound quality is a million times better than the way it was before on FM radio, which is great. The volume is just out of control. So I don't know. Maybe low-level inputs will work out better. Let's try it. So let's try the low-level side. We're going to take my RCAs and plug them into the front side here. We've got our 2 negatives that we will tie into this negative. All right, so I got my 2 negatives tied together, just like it is on my wiring diagram. Got my shield grounded, and we got our right and we got our left. Let's go to the car and see how this sounds. So once again, I don't have any royalty-free music, and we're going to make sure that these things don't touch so we can get an accurate test on this side of things. So we're playing the radio. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. But sounds okay, but honestly, it is very crackly. Not 100% sure. Volume is a lot better than the other one. I'm going to pause the video so I can play a CD, see how that sounds. Okay, so I played a CD on this, and once you get past like 10 or 15 on the volume knob, the speakers start cutting in and out, and the signal just sounds absolutely god-awful. I think high-level inputs is the way to go. I got the harness back on the bench, so I can clean it up and then figure out the best way to wire these guys in and get it done once and for all. We tried the low-level input way, and we tried the high-level input way. The low-level input, in my opinion, was just garbage as far as sound quality-wise goes, so we are going to utilize the high-level input way, but I don't know, the volume was out of control, and in some situations on an aftermarket radio, you have a gain control. I know on my Kenwood and the Honda and the Pioneer and the Porsche, I have the ability to turn down the gain control. Or when I finally get this garbage Sky International cheap Taiwanese knockoff Bluetooth adapter going, I can actually just turn the volume down on the radio. That may be the best solution. Earlier in my video, I told you guys I've been messing with this for a lot longer than I ever cared to be. And I ordered some stuff on that Rainforest website that actually is going to work perfectly. And let me explain to you what we got. First of all, I ordered a new Metra harness because the other one was getting so short. I was like, yep, my brain, I needed to get a new one. Anyway, the other thing that I ordered is this. It's made by Scosche. It is an OEA-4, and what it is it is a gain adjustment for your speakers. So I was able to wire in all 4 of my speakers from the Alpine harness to this. I have a gain adjustment, and then coming out of this guy, I've got my negatives that are tied together, both front and rear, and then I've got all 4 positives tied together. I mentioned this Sky International cheapy knockoff Bluetooth that fell apart the second I tried to use it, and I had to chop up an old iPod cable to make it work. So yeah, super hopeful about how that's going to work. And then I've got my relay, and my relay is ignition, ground, amp turn on, and this pink is going to go out to all 4 of my my Bose amplifiers. Power side of this guy is still hooked up the same way it was. So yeah, let's clean this harness up, and I'll get it in the car. So this is all wired up and ready to go. My my cheapy knockoff Bluetooth adapter is working just fine. These guys are all wired in. My gain adjustments are right here, and I can kind of dial in each speaker like I want to. Got some royalty-free music, and it actually is working pretty well for 40-year-old speakers. Good thing I got a lot of depth back there to shove all this junk. Shouldn't be an issue. Finding that Scosche adapter helped out quite a bit. I unfortunately don't have the time to dedicate to a full audio build on the Corvette. Maybe someday or soon, or I don't know. We'll figure it out at some point. If you guys need those wiring diagrams, hit me down below in the comments. I'll be happy to go ahead and help out and send them your way. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and if you have any other questions about today's video, please let me know. I'll be happy to help out. See you next time.